you can't build a product in 3 months or 6 months and expect it to solve real enterprise problems. And that was the expectation in the market. You have to actually spend time on it. We didn't actually start building our product in November of 2022 after ChatGPT and suddenly expect it to work for our enterprises. Technology takes time to build.
Welcome to Founded and Funded. I'm Coral Garnick-Duckin, and today Madrona Investor Palak Goel has the pleasure of chatting with Glean founder and CEO Arvind Jain. Glean provides an AI-powered work assistant that breaks down traditional data silos, making info from across a company more accessible. It should be no surprise that Glean is touted as the search engine for the enterprise because Arvind spent over a decade at Google as a distinguished engineer, where he led teams in Google Search. Glean has raised about $155 million since launching in 2019 and was named a 2023 IA40 winner. Palak and Arvind talk about how AI should not be thought of as a product, but rather a building block to create a great product. They also talk about the need for entrepreneurs to be persistent, the importance of spending time with customers, and so much more. So with that, I'll hand it over to Palak to take it away.
Arvind, thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to talk about Glean.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
So just to kick things off, in 2023, VCs have invested over $1 billion into generative AI companies, but I can probably count on one hand how many AI products have actually made it into production. As someone who's been building these kinds of products for decades, why do you think that is, and what should builders be doing better?
Well, first of all, I think people are doing a great job building products. I've seen a lot of really good ideas out there leveraging the power of large language models. But it takes time to really build a product that is enterprise grade, that can actually be reliably be used to solve specific business problems. And I think there's a little bit of that. I think when the AI technology allowed people to create demos that look fantastic, that you can sort of you can solve problems in an amazing way, and the expectation in the market actually went up very quickly that here is this magical technology and it's going to solve all of our problems. And that was sort of one of the reasons why, we sort of went through this phase of disappointment later on, which is that it actually turns out that AI technology, while it is super powerful, is extremely hard to make it work in your business. And one of the big things for AI to work in your enterprise is that you have to actually connect your enterprise knowledge and data with the power of large language models. And it is hard, it is clunky, it takes effort. And so I think we just need more time. But I would say personally, I feel like I think it's great to see this investment in this space, because you're going to see fundamentally new types of products that are going to get built and which are going to add significant value into the enterprise. And I expect that we will see a lot of successes in 2024.
Totally. What are some of those products or needs that you feel are extremely compelling, or products you expect to see? And I'm curious how the Glean platform, and coming from that perspective, how are you enabling some of those applications to get built?
If you think about applications, AI applications in the enterprise, a common theme across all of them is that you have to connect your enterprise data and knowledge with the power of LLMs. Given a task that you're trying to actually solve, you have to assemble the right pieces of information which lives within your company and provide it to the LLM, so that the LLM can then actually do some work on it and actually solve the problem in form of either providing you with an answer or creating some artifact that you're looking for. So from a Glean perspective, that's the value that we are adding. We're going to make it really easy for you to connect your enterprise data with the power of large language model technology. And we want to take all the work of building data ETL pipelines, figuring out how to keep this data fresh and up to date, and setting up a retrieval system where you can put that data in so that you can retrieve it at the time a user wants to do something. We want to take away all of that technical complexity of building an AI application from you, and instead give you a no-code platform that you can use and focus more on your business or application logic, and not have to worry about how to build a search engine or a data ETL pipeline. So that's what our role with our platform is. We're going to actually enable developers inside the enterprise build amazing AI applications on top of our platform. The use cases that I'm actually like that I hear all the time from our enterprises. So first for developers, like you already know like how the code copilots are actually adding a lot of value already. There are statistics which are saying that maybe 30% of all the code now is being written by copilots. And so I think you're starting to see like really good productivity sort of wins coming from AI for software development. You can use these models for test case generation. And so there's a lot of opportunity there. I think right now we're still probably trying to improve that 10% of the time that a developer spends. If you think about a developer, they're not actually spending like most of the time writing code. Most of the time they're actually trying to figure out how to actually solve a problem or figure out like design the solution, talk to people, get feedback on the design, go read the code. So I think, but most of the focus, and that's the scope of AI. So right now, like the AI is focused on like maybe that 10 or 20% of the time that developer spends, and actually trying to bring some efficiencies there. But next year we're going to actually see a lot more sophisticated sort of tools in that entire developer lifecycle to actually increase productivity. And similarly, I think for support and customer care teams, you will see like AI starting to play a lot more significant role in speeding up customer ticket resolution, auto answering tickets that customers have. These are some of the big areas that we see a lot of traction in today.
Got it. So as developers move from prototyping to production, do you think it's a lack of sophistication in the tooling around some of these models, or is it just the models themselves that need to get better?
It's both. I mean, I think AI models are really smart, but everybody has seen like how they can hallucinate, how they can make things up, because fundamentally they are probabilistic models. And so you're starting to see first, like, of course, like all the model companies are like, whether it's an open domain or the closed domain models, there is like incredibly fast progress that is happening there to make these models better, more predictable and accurate. But at the same time, there's also a lot of work that is happening on the tooling side. So for example, for me, like if I'm building an AI application, how do I make sure that it's doing a good job? Like today, the eval, when we started earlier this year, when we built an application, like all the, evaluation of that system was manual. Like our developers were spending majority of their time actually just trying to evaluate whether the system is doing well or not, because there's no way to sort of automate that process. So now you're seeing a lot of development on AI evaluation systems. Similarly, there are infrastructure around models, like making sure that you're not actually either putting sensitive information into the models or taking sensitive output and showing it back to the user. So privacy and security filtering, that plumbing layer is getting built in the industry right now. There's a lot of work on post-processing of AI responses, because when the models are unpredictable, like how can you actually take the output of the models and then apply technologies to sort of find out like, that something like that happened, like, if it hallucinated, then you sort of suppress those responses. So the entire toolkit, like, you see there's a lot of development that is happening. And I think, again, like, I think I'll come back to the original point that like, you can't build a product in 3 months or 6 months and expect it to solve real enterprise problems. And that was the expectation in the market. You have to actually spend time on it. I think for us, like, our product has worked because we were actually on this journey for the last 5 years. So we didn't actually start building a product like in November of 2022 after ChatGPT and suddenly expect it to work for our enterprises. Like, it's technology takes time to build.
So as somebody who has gone on that journey from prototype to production, what advice do you have for founders that are starting similar journeys and are looking to be part of these conversations with big enterprise customers?
Like, I think like as a generic piece of advice for new like startups or folks doing this for the first time is that building a product is always hard. And there are a lot of times where you will feel that, oh, maybe this is a bad idea and I should not pursue it, or it's too difficult, or there is a lot of other people doing it and they may do it better than me. I think like that's the first thing that I just want to always remind people of, is that, a startup journey is hard and you're going to keep having these kind of thoughts and you just have to persist. Like the thing that you have to remember is that it's hard for anybody to go and build a great product. It takes a lot of effort, it takes time, and you also have that time. So like if you're going to persist, you're going to do a great job. So that's my number one advice to any startup founder out there. And then the second thing, with respect to AI itself, I think if you start to think of like AI being, is your product, then you're likely going to fail. I think we don't see AI as fundamentally any different from a lot of other technologies that we use. For example, we use so much infrastructure technologies from cloud providers, and that's a big enabler for us. I've built products in the pre-cloud era, and I know how cloud has fundamentally changed like both the quality of the products we build and how easy it is to do certain things like building scalable products and things like that. So I think like when you are thinking about building a product, like AI should be no more than one of the building blocks that you're going to use. And you still have to innovate outside of the models. You have to innovate in terms of making workflows better for people or whatever, whatever it is, but something beyond that, hey, AI can do something better and therefore I'm going to actually build a product. That's not sufficient in my mind.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I love the customer centricity there, really figuring out what their needs are and building a product to best serve those needs rather than taking more of a technology first approach and taking a hammer and sort of looking for nails. To keep on this AI trend a little bit more, I think every Fortune 500 CEO this year was asked by their board, what is your AI strategy? And we've seen companies, spin up AI skunkworks projects and evaluate a lot of early offerings. Naturally, a lot of founders and builders want to be a part of those conversations. I'm curious how you approach that at Glean, and if you have, more advice for founders looking to be a part of those conversations.
So in that sense, like 2023 has been a great year for enterprise AI startups, because you have this incredible push that you're getting from the boardrooms where CIOs and leaders of these enterprises are really motivated to sort of experiment with AI technologies and see what it can do for their businesses. We have actually found it to be very helpful because this allows us to actually bring out technology. There's more acceptance, there's more urgency for somebody to actually try Glean and see what it does for them. There's one thing that I would say, like I've heard from enterprises though, is that a lot of these experiments are yet to work out. Like a lot of POCs have actually failed. And so my advice to founders is to actually have an honest conversation with your customers, with the leaders, that you're trying to actually go and sell the product to. If you create a really amazing demo, which is easy to create, and actually sell something that you don't really have, I think you lose the opportunity and you lose the credibility, and it's hard to bounce back from it. Instead, it's actually very easy because even the enterprise leaders, they understand that, hey, this technology is new. It's going to take time to mature. And they're just looking for partners to work with who they feel like have the integrity and who have the ability to actually be on this journey with them and build products over time. So that's my advice to folks. Be honest and share the vision, share the roadmap, and show some promise right now. And that's enough. You don't need to actually overpromise and underdeliver.
Totally. And I think that's going to become the conversation in 2024 is what's the ROI on our AI strategy? So I'm curious from the enterprise leader's perspective that tried out a POC, had mixed results. Do they double down and stick with the effort? How do you think about that? And how are you seeing it from the Glean perspective?
See, AI is a wave that you have to ride it. I think as an enterprise, if you as with these other big trends like cloud, or if you think about cloud, let's just pick cloud as an example. When the cloud technology was just in formation, there was a lot of skepticism about it. Hey, I'm not actually trusting my data is going into a data center that I don't even have a keys or to lock. I'm not going to do it. So there were companies that were early adopters and there were companies who adopted it late. And I think overall, the earlier you adopted these new technologies, the better you do as a company. And so AI is, if you think about the AI technologies right now, they're actually bigger, in terms of the transformative impact they're going to have on enterprises or on the industry as a whole, than even cloud. I was in this conversation where somebody said that how the AI opportunity is in fact 20 times bigger than the cloud opportunity. And it made sense. But the point is that it's an undeniable trend and the technology is powerful and you have to invest in it. And you have to actually, as an enterprise leader, you have to be willing to experiment. You don't have to commit to spending a lot of money on it yet, but you have to see what's out there, put in that effort to embrace and adopt this technology. Like, it's important for you, even if you have, sort of mixed feedback so far, because this technology is actually getting better, and it's going to get better faster than what any one of us can actually imagine. So it's actually, for me, that's my clear advice. Keep at it.
Absolutely. I'd love to double click on that a little bit more on AI being a bigger opportunity than cloud. I'd love to get a sense of where you think that is, and what are some of these amazing experiences beyond our imaginations that you think will result out of this new wave of technology.
So if you think about the overall technology market, I think like a decade or so back, it was about $350 billion total, like in overall technology spend. I think it's probably double of that now. And the cloud itself is actually, I think, 400 billion, which is more than all the tech spend that used to happen 10, 15 years back. But if you think about AI actually impacts more than software. It actually impacts how services are delivered in the industry. And I think if you think about that, like, services, it's a $10 trillion plus, like, in size when you think about how big that market is. And there's going to be, like, if you pick services, pick one that comes to your mind. Think about, say, the legal industry and the kind of services that you get from them. What impact can AI have on those services? Like, how it can make those services better, how it can actually make it more automated. So if you start to think about the overall scope of it, it actually feels much larger. Like, I actually feel like it's going to fundamentally change how we work. And that's our vision at Glean. So with Glean, the way we look at it is, like, today, take any enterprise, you have the executives, and they get the luxury of having a personal assistant, someone who actually helps do half of their work. Like, I have that luxury too, where I get to actually tell somebody to do work for me. And they look at my calendar, they look at my email, they help me process all of it. And I have that help, and I feel like it's unfair. I have it, but nobody else in our company has it. But I think AI is going to change all of that. If you think about 5 years from now, each one of us, regardless of what role we play in the company, how early we are in our career, we're going to have a really smart personal assistant that's going to actually help us do most of our work, most of the work that we do manually today. That's our vision with Glean. That's what we're building with the Glean Assistant. Imagine a person in your company that's been there from day one, and they've read every single document that has ever been written inside this company. They've been part of every single conversation, every single meeting, and they don't forget anything. And then they're ready for you 24/7. Whenever you have a question, they can actually answer that question using all of their company knowledge that they have actually processed. And that's the capability that the computers, have now. Of course, the computers were always really good at processing large amounts of information, but now they can also understand it and synthesize it. So that's what I'm trying to say, that if you think about the scope, like, the impact of AI is going to be like a lot more than what all of us are actually envisioning right now. It's sort of true for any massive trend. Like, we tend to overestimate the impact in the next 1 year, but we really underestimate the impact that the technology is going to have in the next 10 or 20 years.
Just so you know, Arvind, I when you were starting Glean, I remember because I was working on the enterprise search product at Microsoft, and I think you were cold messaging people on LinkedIn to try out Glean, and one of the people you happened to cold message was my dad, who also went to IIT, and so it was just like a funny story.
One of the things that I feel like for me is, if I'm trying to solve a problem, I want to actually go and talk to the users of the product as much as I can. So, for example, even at Glean, I was the SDR number one. I talked to hundreds and hundreds of people, like whoever I could find, whoever had like 10 minutes to spare for me, and asked them about, like, hey, I'm actually trying to build something like this. I'm trying to actually build a search product for companies. Does it make sense? Is it going to be useful to you? And the reason it's so powerful, when you do that exercise yourself, and you don't stop, after you hire a couple of people in sales, like, you keep going, is because it generates that immense sort of conviction for you in your own mission. As I was talking to you earlier about, like, how often the journey is hard, and on a bad day you start to question yourself. But if you actually had done that research and talked to lots and lots of users, I think it's sort of like you can always go back to that and remember that, hey, no, I've actually talked to a lot of people. This is the product that they want. This is a problem that needs to be solved. And so that's sort of, I always find very helpful for me.
Arvind, you've been in the technology industry for a very long time and been a part of nearly every wave of technical disruption. What have you learned from each of these waves, and how have you applied those learnings to AI?
I think each one of these big technology advances that have happened over the last 3 decades, we've seen like how that sort of fundamentally creates opportunities for new companies to come in and bring new products that are better than the products that were built before, when that technology was not available to them, to anybody. And so that's one thing that I've always kept in mind. Whenever a big new technology wave comes, that's the opportunity for any company, whether you're starting a new company or if you are actually a startup, like you got to actually figure out like how that is going to change things, how that is going to actually give you opportunities to build much better products than what was possible before, and then go and work on it. That's my approach always has been, is to see these big technology advances as opportunities as opposed to thinking of them as being disruptions.
I'd love to get a sense of your personal journey as you've gone through each of those different waves. What are some of the products that you've innovated on, and what are you so excited about building with Glean?
Yeah, so I remember like the first one, like when I was in my second job, we were actually just starting to see the impact of the internet on the tech industry as well as like in general on the business. And so I got to work on building video on the web. So allowing people to actually watch video content directly on their laptops, on their machines, streamed over the internet. And it was incredible. Like, we started with, like, I remember the days where you had to actually serve these videos and they would be just so tiny because there's no bandwidth available on the internet to actually, for us to provide a full screen experience. But regardless, it was still fundamental that there was no concept before that, hey, I can actually watch a video when I want to watch it. Like that was like the big thing that the internet enabled. So I was really fortunate to be part of that early days of video on the internet. The next big thing that we saw was mobile with the advent of smartphones and iPhone. And it's again fundamentally changed. At that time I was working at Google, and it really changed our ability, for example, to really personalize results, personalize Google search, personalize maps at a new level for our users than was possible before. Because now we actually knew where they are. We knew what they're doing. Are they actually traveling, or are they like steady at a place? Are they in a restaurant? And you can sort of use that context to make products so much better. Now we're in the middle of this AI trend, and our product, we are a search product for companies. And the AI technology, especially the large language models, they've actually given us this opportunity to make our product like 10 times better. For example, think about before, when somebody came and asked a question on Glean, we could actually point them to the most relevant documents inside the company that they could go and read and get the answer to whatever questions they had. But now we can use the LLM technology to actually take those documents, understand them using the power of LLMs, and actually quickly provide AI-generated answers to our users so they can save a lot more time. So it's been really exciting, to have that opportunity to use these big technology advances and quickly incorporate them in our products.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's always really impressed me about Glean. As far back as 2019 or even before ChatGPT, Glean was probably everybody's favorite AI product. I'm curious, how has Glean's technical roadmap evolved alongside this rapid change of innovation over the last 12 months?
So as you mentioned, like we started in 2019. And in fact, we were actually using large language models in our product right then in 2019. The large language model technology actually got invented in some ways at Google. And it was the purpose of, working on this was to actually make search better. So when we started, we actually, had really good LLM models in open domain that we could actually use and then retrain them on enterprise corpuses of our customers and make it work for them to create a really good semantic search experience. But those models were not as good as you could actually put them in front of the users. And all of that really started to happen in the last 1 year, where finally the models are so good that you can actually take the output of these models and put them right in front of the users. So this has allowed us to first, completely evolve our product. So what used to feel like a really good search engine, something like Google, inside your company, now it's actually become a lot more conversational. It's become an assistant that you can go and talk to and do a lot of things. So not just give it complicated instruction, because we can actually follow complicated instruction using the power of large language model technology, and then solve the problem that the user wants to solve. But we can actually go and really parse and comprehend knowledge at a level that we couldn't ever before, and also go beyond answering questions and actually do work for you. One thing that we realize is that the AI technology is so powerful, and there's so many internal business processes that with the power of AI, you can make them much more efficient and better. And we're not going to be, as a company, be able to actually fix all the things, like go and solve all the AI problems. But our job has now become more of that, how can you use all of your company knowledge that we have at our disposal, and then actually give tools to our customers so that they can bring AI into every single business workflow and generate efficiencies that have never been seen before.
I think that's one of the things that, from an outsider perspective, has made Glean such a great company. Just how big the vision is and how you're starting with the customer and working backwards. I'm curious how you think about internalizing some of that philosophies within your company and how that sort of evolved and how the product's evolving to this bigger, broader platform vision that you just alluded to.
In an enterprise business, it's very important for us to actually spend a lot of time with prospective customers and understanding different use cases that they have, that they're trying to actually solve as a business problem. And all businesses are sort of very different in some ways. And so a big part of like building products that actually can help a wide range of customers is actually spending that time at the forefront, working with our customers and really understanding the scenarios there, understanding their data, and then trying to sort of extract common patterns and common needs, and then drive our product roadmap based on that. So our product team spends a lot of time doing this process. Every quarter we will actually go and look at what are the top things we're hearing from our customers, and then of course we do have our own vision of where we think the world is headed with all these new AI technologies, and so we combine those two things to actually come up with our quarterly roadmap and then execute on it. The reason we started, for example, working on exposing our underlying technologies as a platform that businesses can go and build applications on was exactly that as we talked to all these enterprises, and they were all actually showing us that, hey, I want to actually bring efficiency in my order workflow process, and this is how it works. And somebody else comes and tells us that, hey, I want, I'm getting a lot of requests for my HR service team, and I want to actually, help people like build a self-serve bot for all the employees in the company whenever they have HR questions. So you start to sort of listen to all of them, and you realize that, oh, we can't actually, we have no idea what are all the things they want to go and solve. And so our job then became that, hey, can we actually give them the building blocks that can make it easy for them to then take this platform and build that value that they were looking for, do a little bit of work on top of the product and platform that we provide to solve those specific business use cases. So that was one of the examples. We started building our AI platform for that reason, because AI is so broadly applicable across so many different businesses, so many different use cases. And it became very clear to us that we need that collaboration from our customers to really get full value.
Awesome, Arvind. So I have a few rapid fire questions as we wrap up. The first is, aside from your own, what intelligent application are you most excited about and why?
GitHub Copilot is one of the applications. Like, I see how our developers are able to use that, and there is a clear sign signal from them that this is a tool that's truly improving their productivity.
Beyond AI, what trends, technical or non-technical, are you most excited about?
I'm really excited about the nature of work, like how it is evolving rapidly and quickly. Distributed work, people being, the ability for people to work from wherever they are. So technologies that is helping us become more and more effective, from working from our homes. That's the thing that I'm really excited about. And we're going to see a lot more. Hopefully, we're going to see some things with telepresence, which makes working from anywhere the same as working from office.
Yeah, that's a good one. Arvind, thank you so much for taking the time. It was really a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to this week's I-40 Spotlight episode of Founded and Funded. We'd love to have you rate and review us wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you're interested in learning more about Glean, visit www.glean.com. If you're interested in learning more about the IA40, visit www.ia40.com. Thanks again for listening, and tune in a couple of weeks for our next episode of Founded and Funded.